have to tell child support when your income increases? Hi, I'm Alycia Kinchloe, the owner of Kinchloe Law, a family law practice based in the Philadelphia area. When we're dealing with child support, we know that in order to get a change in your support obligation, if you lose your income or have a reduction in income, you do have to let the court know. And as always, I'm going to remind you that you should speak with an attorney licensed in your state about the facts specific to your case. In Pennsylvania, you are required to notify the court of a substantial change or significant change in your income. And that could be either up or down. And generally, this notice is provided to you in your documents that you receive from the court once there is an order for an obligation. And that is an obligation that extends to both the party receiving the child support and the party paying the child support. So often, again, we think about, okay, if I lose my job, I have to let them know. Because in Pennsylvania, generally, if you request a modification, it goes back to the date that you filed. It's a little bit more difficult to get retroactive changes made to your support obligation. So the burden is often on the person, especially someone who needs a lowering of a child support obligation, to make sure they notify the court as soon as possible about a change in their employment. Now, sometimes people don't think about the fact that when they increase their income, there is also possibly still a requirement for them to notify the court. Now, the court generally does not imagine if a person, gets $5 extra, this week instead of last week, and that's not something that's going to be ongoing. That's not something that they anticipate or require generally someone to notify the court about. However, when there's changes that are significant or even changes that are going to be ongoing, and again, those things are not necessarily the same thing. It can be significant but not ongoing, and it can still require you to notify the court. It can be ongoing and still require you to notify the court. So that's why I said it's very important for you to speak with an attorney about the facts specific to your case, because sometimes there are things that are going to trigger changes in your support obligation on an ongoing basis, and things that won't, but some things that may need to be reported because they are a substantial or significant change. That is the type of change that the courts or the legislature anticipates in requiring people to update the court about changes in their income. Now, when I stated earlier that generally when you want a modification of your support obligation, the court puts the burden on you to actually request it. And because generally our state does not allow people to go back in order to get a change in obligation, the question becomes, well, what happened if you are the person receiving support and you find out that the person who's supposed to pay the support had a substantial change in their income and failed to notify the court? Well, case law has established that if you find that out and the person never reported it to the court, you might be able to get the court to go backwards. Now, generally, this does not happen at the conference level, which is the first level that you go through when you file a complaint for support or a modification. Generally, you need to get to the master because the master has more authority to be able to make changes to what the eligibility date would be for your actual modification of court. And case law has upheld that in situations where a person's income changed substantially and the party receiving the support found out 2 years later, the court has indicated and has allowed the modification to go backwards 2 years. So again, you need to take that obligation seriously. You need to make sure you understand what that means. And in worst case scenario, or best case scenario, honestly, you should speak with an attorney and they can give you guidance on what and how to do any type of reporting that you need to do to make sure that you do not fall out of compliance with that requirement to update the court about changes in your income, either up or down, as well as changes in your contact information, your address, your telephone number, and now because a lot of courts are happening or hearings are happening virtually, your email address as well. So I hope to shed a little bit of light on what happens and what your obligations are when it comes to reporting income increases in income and not just decreases in income if you have a support obligation. And again, this is not just for the people who are paying child support, but also for someone who is receiving child support. You have a duty as well. If you have questions, please put them in the comments below. We'll try to address some of the topics that you raised in future videos. We're doing a video every single day of 2021 on divorce, custody, and support. And if you want to get a consultation or ask someone from my firm questions about your family law case, you can reach us at kinchloelaw.com. That's going to be in the show notes along with our telephone number. All right, until next time, take care.